Today we're going to talk about 10 things that you cannot do with your foster children.
This is my family. Some are here for a little while, and some stay for a lifetime. We all came from different paths, but we all look to a brighter future together. To really tell our story, I must first tell you theirs.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, thanks for coming and joining us on our journey. We always love people coming and supporting us. It really means a lot to us to know that there are so many people out there who want information about fostering and adopting, and there's so many people out there who want to be a part of and want to help, and even if you can't help, you want to support us, so we thank you so much for that. Today we're going to talk about 10 things that you cannot do with your foster children. And of course, we all know that there's rules to all of this, but some of these actually might surprise you. Some of these even I didn't know, and I was a foster child at one point. If you're getting ready for a new foster child, or you're just curious to know what you can and cannot do, go ahead and join us. Number one on our list today is actually you cannot alter the physical appearance of your foster child. And what that means is you cannot cut their hair in any other style other than the style that they came into your home with, unless the parents agreed to it. You cannot pierce their ears or let them get any piercings, even if I know that some children, especially teenagers, want to do like more sporadic things, their nose pierced, their lip pierced, whatever. That is not something that you as a foster parent can allow them to do. Another thing is dyeing their hair. Even with temporary hair dyes, you cannot let your foster child dye their hair or even go get it professionally dyed. A lot of this goes into trying to keep foster parents and birth parents on a steady track together. So what that means is you are a foster parent and you are trying to help, by all means, reunite the family. And so when that child is taken away from its family, they have their physical identity that they take with them. And while they're with you, you are supposed to maintain that physical identity that they came to you with. When they decide that they want to change something like their hair or a piercing, hairstyles, hair dye, that is something that they must not only consider you for, they must consult you about it, but they must also consult their birth parents about that. And if for whatever reason the birth parents say no, then of course that's a no. If they still have rights. All of this goes into perspective of you're fostering a child whose parents still have rights over them. So as long as their parents still have rights over them, you cannot do anything that the parents wouldn't agree on. So once you get the okay from the parents, and then I would also get okay from the social worker, get something in writing from the birth parents, just so you know that there is no way that it's going to come back at you, then it is allowed. But for all purposes of you have no communication with the biological parents, you would not be able to dye their hair, to cut their hair in any way other than what they came to you with. You cannot piercings. Makeup is a fine line for some. Some parents don't allow their kids to wear makeup even in their teen years, while some foster parents don't see anything wrong with it, especially if they want to express themselves. Again, that's something that you take up with the social worker and with the parents, but if the parents do say they're not comfortable with it or that's not something that they want for their child, then it should be reciprocated that you respect that. Even if the parents aren't in any way in a position to make decisions for their child, their opinion still matters as long as their child is still in the system and as long as they still have their parental rights. Number 2 on our list today, you cannot let your foster children go to an outing without you. You are their parent. You are their legal guardian. You are the most important person in this besides the child, because you have all the responsibility of taking care of this child and making sure that nothing happens to them while they're in your care. With that being said, even if they go to the same school with the same friends that they've known since they were children, or even if they continue to see family members that are, a part of their life but not on the court order, they cannot leave you. Now, what that means is there is no school activity that they can go to without you unless their social worker says it's okay, with a court order saying it's okay. There is no sleepovers or birthday parties. That child is not allowed to spend the night at another person's house, even if it's a lifelong friend from the school they've been going to ever since they were children. They cannot go to those sleepovers or those birthday parties without you. When there is court-ordered visitation, it is another story. Some court-ordered visitations are orders for an hour, orders for 2 hours twice a week, or orders for weekend visits from Friday to Sunday night. With those are mandatory court-ordered visits. So at that point, yes, you follow your court order and you let that child go stay with their grandparents or their parents or the aunt or uncle that was taking care of them, or the family member that is supposed to be adopting them. Those are all court ordered. Those are all perfectly fine as long as you're following court orders. But outside of that, they are not allowed to stay the night at any family members' houses without a court order. Outside of court orders, they are not allowed to stay at their parents' house. They are not allowed other visits. I had this actually happen with Hartlind a couple times, where her parents would message me because I put myself in the position to be a supervisor for the visits. I was able to go through the motions to becoming a supervisor for her visitations because that's something that I wanted to do. With that being said, I would get messages from her parents asking, hey, we have free time tomorrow, can we see her? Or hey, we have free time tonight, can we see her? Unfortunately, because it is court ordered, we had court ordered for certain days at certain hours, and we had a specific place that was written on the court order that this is the only place that we were allowed to go do visits. In that case, you're not allowed to give the extra time because of the fact that their court order just says this is their time. Going outside of that court order does sometimes result in your child being taken away from you, or even you losing your ability to foster not only that child but future children. So again, I wouldn't risk it letting them go do anything. I wouldn't risk it even if it's family members or people that they've known for years. It's just you as a foster parent legally must hold yourself accountable, because you no longer are taking care of your child, because the child isn't yours legally. The child is the court's legally. Number 3 on our list is actually something that we had to kind of look into because I did not know this, but you cannot let your foster children join any dangerous activities. Now, what that actually means is you cannot let your children participate in things like football if the parents feel that physical football is too much or would hurt the kid. You cannot let your child participate in things like figure skating or ice skating trips because there is a possibility that that child will get hurt. You cannot let your children do things like wrestling and Sometimes sports like soccer is a physical sport. There's so many meticulous things that unless the parents agree to it and the courts say it's okay, that you really can't do it. And not only is it because of the physical aspect of that child might get hurt, but unless they were playing football prior to you coming, and this is the school they've been going to for however many years, if they didn't already prior to being with you have these things lined up for them, the courts will wonder, will they still have them if the child leaves your home? So if the child leaves your home, are they still going to be able to go to that same school and play football for that same school? Are they still going to have the same friends to do this weekly ice skating event that they have going on? A lot of this is not only, oh, they're going to get physically hurt, but also what's going to come after. If they leave your home, are they going to be able to continue these activities? Because if they're not, then it's traumatic for the child to be put into something and get excited about something and then have to be pulled out of it when they're placed in a separate home, putting them through more than they've already been through. Number 4 on our list is new, or at least newer with technology. You cannot post your foster child's face, their name, or personal information online. And what that means is you are a foster parent. You have no rights over this child other than taking care of them and making sure they're safe. You cannot put their personal information out into the world for them to be perceived by other people, judged, or something could be pulled off of the internet about the parents that you posted or the child's situation that you posted, and that can be taken to court as this person is traumatically brainwashing my child, or this person is traumatically talking to my child, telling them that I'm an unfit parent, or in other words, most of it is just to cover your bottom. As long as you don't post anything about them, there is nothing that can fall back on you that is going to say something like, they hurt my child in this or that way, they told my child this or that and I was not comfortable with that, they did something that's going to in the future affect my child, because all of us know that anything you put on the internet you can dig up later. With that being said, when you're a foster parent, you cannot post. You cannot post when the parents still have rights. If you are in the process of adopting the child, if you are on the road to adopting them, I would say as long as it's not anything that's going to hurt the child, it's not negatively provoking any sort of, legal actions that are gonna in the future get you in any type of trouble, if it's not exploiting your child for the problems that they had previously, then by all means I would say post. Share the love with your family, with your friends, with the people around you that, hey, you're adopting this foster child that you've had, you're, growing your family, whatever the case may be. Just know that in a certain amount of time, when the parents still have rights, you are technically not allowed to post anything that child can go back on or fall back on and say this was a traumatic point and they did something out of context. Another thing with not posting the child is your children are actually not allowed to come up in school newspapers, in city newspapers. I know that one of the people that I went to high school with was actually a foster child, and they even were not allowed to do any type of curriculars or anything like that, like extra anything, because when I was in band, they did photos. When we did competitions, they did videos. When you're in cheer, when you're in football, you do multiple photos, you do, school papers. Even right now, there is some stuff going on at my old high school that's circulating the internet, and things like that would be taken, either lawfully taken down because a court would tell you that they're not allowed to do that, or unfortunately they would be taken out of the activity because then they cannot participate in the activity. Number 5 is you cannot leave the state, the country. You cannot go on that vacation. If your family takes a yearly vacation to Hawaii, if your family goes and visits Uncle Sam in Germany every year, that foster child cannot go. There's so much friction behind this, because then you have to go and get court papers saying that you want to take this child somewhere, or you want to introduce them to something that you're doing, which then falls back on they need to ask the parents. The parents need to approve. The foster system needs to approve, and then not also that, but where you're going, every person in that house needs to be background and fingerprinted. The house needs to be checked. They have to have the address, and then your social worker will need to have information on the closest hospital just in case anything happens. Are you able to get there? Do you have means of transportation? Do the people that you're going to have things like a car seat if the child is young enough and needs one? Do they have certain boundaries, like do they have their medicine cabinet locked? And if it's a teenager that struggles with certain issues, do they have any dangerous items that could potentially put that child at risk? So with that, most of the time they will not let you take your foster child out of the state or out of the country. What would happen at that point is they would find either temporary foster care for them, or if it's a reoccurring thing, like a reoccurring business trip that you have to take monthly, or something that you are trying to go visit somebody for an extensive amount of time because they're sick or something happened, then they potentially might move your foster child out of your home just because it becomes an inconvenience for the child. I think number 5 and number 6 kind of go together on this. So number 6 is you cannot leave the city. Where you live, normally you foster out of the county that you live in, and some cases are different. I had Hartlind when she was an LA County child and we lived in Orange County, and because we are related, because we are blood related, and we were trying to adopt her, with everything that was going on, family always comes first, so they did accommodate for us being in Orange County. And we did go out of our way to make sure that we can make it to every doctor's appointment in LA County, every visit in LA County, every court date in LA County. We went out of our way to make sure that the distance wasn't a problem. But when you do have a foster child, you must keep them as close to the family as possible, meaning if they can stay in the same school, if they can stay in the same area, they want it to happen that way. So they do try to keep the child within the city. So if you do plan on moving and you don't think that you can accommodate a child, at least wait until you move and get your new house assessed in your new area with the county that is correct with where you're living. That way you don't have the problems of, I took in this child a month ago, but now I want to move to a different city, I want to move to a new area or a new county. That's kind of where it gets hard, because they will want to remove the child just to make sure that the child is still close to home, because reunification at the end of the day is the goal in every case, unless the parents cannot take care of the child. Number 7, and I've talked about this one before as well, no co-sleeping. Every child must have their own bed, and in most cases, if the child's over 3, they must share a room with only the same gender as they are. You cannot let children co-sleep, not with you, not with their siblings. It's just not allowed, even though they might be used to something different when they're at home. That's something that they need to adjust to while staying in the system, is that each child has their own bed and they must sleep in their own bed. Number 8 is you cannot use at-home remedies. Now, most people might think, oh, of course, you wouldn't use at-home remedies on your own kid if they like split open their leg. You're gonna take them to a hospital, right? But this doesn't only count for times of a child getting very hurt or very ill. This also counts as my child got a splinter and I saw somewhere that if you rub an ice cube on it, the splinter will come out, or something like, oh, my child, has a cold and I was told if you put garlic on their chest and put tape over it that, when they wake up it'll go away. Things like that you cannot do. Not only for the child's safety, because in most cases these children, you don't know if they're allergic to things. You don't know if their parents have already tried certain things that they had bad allergic reactions to, like if they're allergic to, certain leaves like aloe vera, or, something for a sunburn, or garlic, or whatever people rub on themselves when they have a cold or something like that. It is more of if this child falls and gets a splinter or gets hurt and you think, oh, I can do this, I'll just take some tweezers and take it out. Well, you can do that, but if in a week or two they end up with some type of staph or some type of infection, or even if that doesn't completely heal, or you might not get the splinter completely out and something starts to develop under their skin that they later will have to have major, medical attention for, it will fall back on you as being irresponsible because you did not seek the proper care for them in the time that they need it. So, no home remedies. Take them to the doctor. Even if it's something small, it might be an inconvenience for your time, but it will save you a lot in the long run, because then you don't have to worry about their parents asking why you didn't take them to the doctor, or a social worker asking why you didn't take them to the doctor. You will already have yourself covered because you went to a doctor and they professionally helped them to the best of their ability. All foster children must get vaccinated. There are some families that are not comfortable with administering all vaccines to their children. I understand that that might not be something that you do with your children, and if it's not, then maybe fostering is not something that is in the works for you. Realistically, these children may go into 1 or 2 homes. They may only be in your home. They may go back to their parents. They may be in anywhere up to 10, 20 foster homes, depending on their situation. If a child's in the system from the time that they're a child until the time that they're an adult, then obviously they've been through many homes. I particularly was in 7 homes from what I remember, and every single one is different people, a different background. Some of them have medical history, some of them don't. Some of them had the chicken pox when they were younger, some of them didn't. Some of them had, the shingles, and after you have things like the shingles, you carry that forever. And so with that being said, you must vaccinate your foster children. Every single vaccine available that the government feels that every child should have must be given to the child. It's not a popular opinion to some people, and that's perfectly fine. Then this route might not be the route for you, but with vaccinations, you want to keep your foster children healthy while they're with you, and if for whatever reason they react bad to anything, then that goes back to the medical professional. That goes back to that you're handing the baton off to the next person who is supposed to do their job. With that being said, you're covering your bottom. If the child gets sick because you did not vaccinate them, not only are you legally accountable for it, but it takes away the child from your situation. They can remove your opportunity to help any other children. It's just one of those things you have to do. You must get every foster child vaccinated. Just do it. Number 10 is one of the weirdest things, and I will tell you, some people cannot handle it. And it's very true. You cannot change your foster child's eating habits. If your foster child comes to you in a state where they're used to eating chips every day, they're used to drinking soda or juice, they don't drink very much water, they don't like fruits and vegetables, they don't like certain types of food, you cannot force them to change their eating habits. You can offer them foods. You can say, hey, do you want to try this today? Hey, do you want to, have a sip of water? Do you want to have an apple instead of your chips? You can go ahead and offer it to them, but if they say no, unfortunately, you cannot change their habits. You can't force the child. You cannot punish the child saying that they will not get certain foods. You cannot, you can't lock up Doritos because your child only wants to eat Doritos every day. You can't lock up chicken nuggets because the child wants chicken nuggets every day. Legally, it's just not something you can do. If the child wants, you just have to provide what you can, and of course, try to implement those good things like, hey, here's a cup of water next to your cup of whatever. When you're done with that, maybe try some water, or if they're outside playing, try and implement water first before giving them the juice that they want. Or when you're sitting down for dinner, you can always make them a plate of something that is more hearty, more nutritious, but know that if they say, I don't want it, or I want something else, then you are expected to feed them. No matter what the circumstances, no matter what they decide they want to do, you're expected to feed them and keep them healthy. And with that comes the responsibility of giving them options, but inevitably, if they don't take your healthier option, then you just have to accept that maybe at that time it is not the right time for that child. Alright guys, thank you for tuning in. That was 10 things you cannot do with your foster children. If you thought any of those were surprising, go ahead and drop a comment down below on your opinions, what you think was surprising and why you never thought that that would happen, or why you never thought that those things were so important to the foster system. Go ahead and leave a like. We do have new videos coming out every Tuesday, so stay tuned. Make sure you give us a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification so you get notifications every week when we do upload. Thank you guys for watching. We wanted to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Our family really does appreciate the support and the love we get from each and every video and each and every view and comment and like and everything that you guys help us provide.
Mom,
can you say thank you?
thank you.
Say see you guys later.
See you later.
If you haven't already, go ahead and check out not only our last video, but our first story of how I became a foster child, my foster child journey, and then how we got all the way here where we had Hartlind and we adopted her. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Say bye.
Bye.